Hi everybody, my name is Tom Tubergen and I'm the Managing Director and CEO of MSG International. In the first video I had mentioned that one of the big reasons that we think you're probably watching is because it's really annoying to lose another great client, another profitable client to a competitor, isn't it? And you wanted to learn how to get a competitive advantage in your war to win new clients. And so with the second video in the series, we're going to spend the next 15 or perhaps 20 minutes talking about 3 simple techniques that you can use right away, right now, later today even, for converting more of your prospects into good, profitable clients. So you're going to want to be prepared to take some notes later on in this video presentation. But you know, before we actually get started with that, I wanted to just take a moment and say thanks for all of the emails, all of the comments, the questions, the feedback, phone calls, and the enthusiasm that we got regarding video number 1. And for the sake of a quick review, there's a number of important points that I made in the first video. I talked about the objections that attorneys use against marketing and promotional tactics, why and how you use those weaknesses or those objections to your competitive advantage. Referrals are a disappearing method for generating new clients because of fundamental changes in the way that we all communicate with each other and transfer information from one person to another. And we talked about the importance of knowing where you're going and having a plan for getting there from here. The fourth topic that we had talked about was the concept of the Pareto principle, the 80-20 rule, and using it to your competitive advantage. So one of the final points that I wanted to make today before we move on with the presentation is that life just gets exponentially easier and better when you're out in front of the herd. When you have your marketing system, your marketing funnel set up and operating and tweaking it on a regular basis, you're continually getting all of the publicity, all of the good prospects, and all of the profitable clients. And what so many attorneys in law firms don't realize is that implementing these marketing strategies and promotional tactics is so easy to learn and to implement, even if you're a startup law firm or even a recent law school graduate. If there's only one marketing concept that I could share with you, it would be that the opportunity for you and your law firm to excel in the area of marketing strategy and promotional tactics is just completely wide open. It's almost as if your competitors are deliberately ignoring this opportunity or this channel to success. Now, if you happen to dive into this video series beginning with this second video, let me take just a moment and quickly introduce myself and bring you up to speed about who I am and my credentials. I'm the Managing Director and the CEO of MSG International LLC. I personally have an MBA in marketing and I did a lot of postgraduate work in software engineering. I have 30 plus years of marketing strategy and promotional tactics for the high-tech industry and also for the legal profession. And at this point in my career, I've started shifting my personal strategy to teaching and sharing all of my successful strategies and techniques for law firms. So that's a brief summary about me. Now let's shift gears and we'll start talking about the 3 techniques that you can use to convert more prospects into profitable clients. 3 techniques to convert more prospects into profitable wonderful clients. Some months ago I wrote an article which stated you don't need more prospects, you just need more clients. Every piece of marketing that you hear during your normal workday is geared towards getting more prospects to contact you or drive more traffic to your website or to make your phone ring with more calls in your office. And the idea here is that you're playing the numbers game for booking new clients. If you need 5 cases a month, you somehow just keep driving more and more prospects to contact you until somehow by the stroke of luck or magic or lightning strikes, you get your quota of 5 new cases or prospects each month. So your strategy is always to spend more money driving more and more traffic to your website or for people somehow to get people to contact you. But there's a lot more productive and efficient alternative to this approach that we're going to talk about. Now here's the problem with playing this prospect numbers game. According to a study that our firm did back in 2012, we found that every prospect that schedules an initial consultation appointment with you chews up an average of roughly 90 minutes of your time. And that doesn't include the time that's spent on the phone talking to new inquiries, new prospects who are contacting you. So that takes us to the obvious question. How many new prospects do you have time for each month? So here's that interesting, more productive alternative that I was talking about just a few moments ago. Maybe, just maybe, you could do a better job of converting the prospects who are already contacting you. The average in the law profession is booking one client from every 10 prospects. A carefully optimized marketing campaign and just a bit of training can improve that average to roughly one client out of every 3 prospects rather quickly. Now I'd like you to think about that for a moment. Would converting one out of every 3 prospects be life-changing for you? Consider what that would do to your revenue, to your career, to your law firm. Would that end game be worth your investment of time, energy, and money? Of course it would. So let's cover some of those basic points right now for converting more prospects into profitable clients. Technique number 1, the perceptions that you create deliberately or maybe not so deliberately are absolutely critical to your success at landing more clients. And these perceptions affect every single aspect of your communication with a new prospect. And we've kind of divided these perceptions into 4 specific categories of perceptions, I guess you could say. There's visual perceptions, there's the verbal perceptions, environmental, and action-based perceptions. We're going to take just a moment and talk about each one of these 4 types of perceptions. We'll start with verbal perceptions. The way that you respond to an incoming phone call from a prospect, for example, the specific words that you say and the way that you say it. Did you sound like a jerk? Did you come across as arrogant? Was it clearly obvious to the caller that you didn't have the time to talk? That you were preoccupied and you couldn't focus on the conversation? Believe me, the prospect picked up on it. Click goes the phone. So let's talk about environmental perceptions. Accessibility of your office, the parking, the convenience, the office aesthetics, employee courtesy. In other words, are they greeted when the prospect arrives at your office? All of this blends together to create either a favorable or an initial negative impression of you and your law firm. And it starts before they even meet you. Visual perceptions, a few examples of visual perceptions. Are you dressed like? Do you look like a professional? What does your meeting room or your office look like? Is it organized or a chaotic disaster? Is it obvious to the prospect that you're prepared for the meeting with the documents that you need readily available? Or do they have to sit and wait while you print things off or prepare documents for their signature? What about the appearance of the other people and professionals in your office? And the 4th category is the category of action-based perceptions. When a prospect contacts you for the first time, do you recommend an initial appointment sometime later this week? Yawn? Because you know that there's no real urgency to this specific type of legal process or case? Or do you recommend that, we really need to get on top of this right away? Can we meet later this afternoon or first thing tomorrow morning? Do you demonstrate during your conversations that you really genuinely care? Or do you stop caring at the 29.5-minute mark of your free consultation and usher them out the door? The perceptions that you create, this stuff all just seems trivial. And considered individually, point by point, they probably are. But when they're all added together, when they're all blended together, they create a summary picture in the prospect's mind of somebody that they're either going to do business with or they'll just simply dial the next number on their list of attorneys. All right, 3 techniques for converting more prospects into great clients. The first technique was the perceptions that you create are obviously critical to your success. Technique number 2, stop selling yourself. Shut up, stop selling yourself. For those of you who provide legal services to the average Joe six-pack, did you know that typically they could care less what law school you graduated from or to spend his 29.5 minutes of the initial consultation hearing about your qualifications and your experience? You're an attorney, right? You see, by the time they've called you for the very first time, they've already scanned through your website. They've already formed some basic impressions of you. You must have graduated from law school. You must have a license to practice law in your particular state. You obviously are pretty smart. So now shut up already. Let's talk about me. Let's talk about my legal problem and how you intend to solve it. The single most important thing that you can do during an initial consultation or even the initial phone call with a prospect is listen. What are the facts? What's the background? What are the challenges of this specific legal case? What are their biggest concerns and fears? What no lawyer or attorney seems to understand is that while every law school graduate can efficiently resolve most legal problems, it's the client's fears and concerns that are always ignored. Solving these fears and their concerns are your golden key to winning more clients. And this leads us directly to our third point. Technique number one is the perceptions you create are absolutely critical to your success. Technique number two is shut up and stop selling yourself. And technique number three is focus on the emotional connection with your new prospect. Make that emotional connection with your client. The first thing that needs to be said is that these emotions that your clients might have aren't always based on reality. They may not be necessarily legitimate, and you know that, but if a prospect is having serious anxiety about a pending legal problem today, they're highly motivated today to want the solution today, not early next week when your calendar clears up for an initial appointment. This is a perfect example where procrastinating at actually scheduling a meeting with a prospect is going to cost you a new client. So you need to understand the dynamic here. The client is highly motivated on an emotional hair trigger, aggressively searching for the solution to their problem. You? Well, you've seen it all. Yep, no worries here. We'll get this taken care of. Probably for somebody else, not this guy. So in every conversation that you have with a prospect, either on the phone or at the initial consultation, even after they become your client, demonstrate a sincere, genuine caring for the person. That doesn't mean that you need to sit together on the floor and hold hands and weep or sing kumbaya, but you do demonstrate caring by listening, by the questions that you ask, and the solutions you propose in the best interest of your client. And remember that while you see many of these same legal problems many times each month perhaps, this is probably a once-in-a-lifetime event for your prospect. Their emotional reactions are going to be much more extreme than yours are going to be. And solving these emotional issues for your prospects either wins you the client or it's going to push them away. So very quickly, very briefly, these are the three primary points or techniques of converting more prospects into profitable clients. Now, obviously, there's a lot more substance to consider during the process that I just don't have time to discuss in this particular video. But there's another really important point that I need to make before you wrap this up. You know, in the first video, I talked about the same standard excuses that I repeatedly hear from my own attorney prospects in the legal profession that justifies their lack of marketing action or problem solving. So I really think it's important enough that we need to take just a moment to review a lot of these excuses and competitive opportunities to gain a competitive advantage. You see, your competitors use excuses to tell you where their weaknesses are and your strengths need to be. Are they procrastinators? Do they come across as being too cheap to promote themselves effectively in the right way? Then they don't have the time perhaps or take the time perhaps to do the tasks that are required to attract profitable new clients. There's actually another point here that should be on the slide that you're looking at about the inability to adapt to a new paradigm or a process of doing business in the digital age. Now, these particular points aren't necessarily promotional techniques that you're going to implement in your law practice sometime tomorrow afternoon. But as the chief bottle washer at your business, these 4 points each represent a strategic opportunity, a competitive opportunity for you to exploit over the long term and pull away from the rest of the herd in your legal community. Now, in the next or the third video in our series of videos here, I'm going to show you how the concepts that we've discussed in our first two videos are combined and rolled up and blended into an overall holistic strategy of marketing your law firm. I'll show you how to use the techniques that I've been showing you to build a marketing funnel or a marketing machine or a repeatable process that consistently just kicks out a steady flow of ideal prospects with minimal daily maintenance from you. So this is actually the solution to the paradigm or the problem I'm sure you're very familiar with, where you promote yourself when you're not real busy, and then you ignore the marketing and the promotion when you are, and all of the subsequent cyclical revenue spikes that result. And then the other thing that I'll be doing during the next video is bringing all of these concepts together with a real life case study of how these techniques are combined to help you form your own successful law firm marketing juggernaut. So are you ready for all of that? I'll be releasing the link to that video in the next few days via your email, so make sure that you're looking for that email in your email inbox. Now, one final comment before we have to pull the plug on this video, and that is asking you to leave a comment or a question in the section that's right below this video. You know, I mentioned at the end of video number 1 that this is really a very important step, because once again, this small action step is a representation of your initial, even if it's small, commitment to moving your ship in the right direction, of taking action. Did you know that a person needs to repeat a task or a behavior for roughly 30 days before it becomes a habit? That's why this small task that I'm asking you to do is actually very important to get you in the habit of regularly doing the little things that make your law practice successful. So don't overlook this step of leaving a comment or a question in the comment section below. So that takes us to the end of video number 2. Thanks again for watching. As you can probably tell, I'm really passionate about the topic of marketing strategy and promotional tactics. And it's really important to me that the techniques you learn about today have a lot of significant value for you right away, immediately. We refer to this as actionable content. So remember, I'll send you an email in the next day or two with a link to the third video. So until next time, be safe, be productive, and above all, be profitable. Have a great day, everyone.